So I'm gonna show you today how to make a mitten, and we're gonna work it flat, which means we're gonna at the end sew it all the way up here and then here, and then at the end we're gonna have a very nice mitten, fingerless, very comfortable, and also like covering part of the thumb. So it's very simple, and all you need to have is 4mm knitting needles, and then as well yarn that is perfect for 4mm as well. One thing is, if you have different size of needles, I recommend making cuffs in 3.5mm as well as the end of the mitten, because it will make it more tight and holding. I prefer having it loose like that, so I did the whole mitten in 4mm. But as I said, like, if you want, you can only make this part, or this part you can make just slightly bit tighter with 3.5mm needles. We're gonna start with casting on 43 stitches, and it's important that we have an even amount of stitches. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna take our yarn, and honestly you can take quite a long yeah, like a lot of yarn, because whatever is gonna be remained here we can use for sewing it up to the thumb. I take a lot of yarn, and then I'm gonna do a knot. So I just twist the yarn like this, yeah, and then I take the end of the yarn through it and pull it, and then I put the needle through that loop, and then I'm gonna start casting on. Thing is, I want to have a nice and elastic edge, so I'm actually gonna cast on 2 needles. So put the second needle here and pull it, and now we're gonna cast on 2 needles. So remember that there's a working yarn, so the one that is attached to the ball, and then there's the other end, yeah. So the end that is not attached to the ball is gonna be below, while the yarn connected to the ball is gonna be up. And we're gonna grab it with those 2 fingers. So we go with fingers inside, we grab the yarn with those 3 fingers, this yarn and this yarn, yeah. So we put fingers, we grab both ends of those 3 fingers, and then we flip it. So again, put my fingers, grab the yarn, and then I turn it. And now I'm gonna go through here and through here and pull it. So again, hold it like this, and then under this loop, and I'm gonna grab this part of the yarn, and I'm gonna go under this 3. Oops. I'm gonna do a little bit. And I'm gonna meet you back when you have 43. Alright, so now we have 43 stitches, and carefully I'm gonna remove one of the needles. Slowly, and hold it here so I don't lose on none of the stitches. Okay, now I have 43 stitches, and it's really important that we remember that one of the yarn ends. It's the yarn that is supposed to be not used, right? Because we're gonna use it to sew the side of the glove together. So what I like to do is that I find the end of the yarn, and then what I do is I just wrap it around my fingers. Yeah, and then just do a knot like this, and then eventually one more. Yeah, cool. So now I know not to use this one. So this is gonna be our right side, and to recognize where's the right side, there's always gonna be end of the yarn on the right side, and this is the side on which we're gonna have knitted part, while the wrong side is that we're gonna see the purl stitches, right? So what we're gonna do, we're gonna always start with knit 2. So I'm making sure that I'm using a correct side of the correct yarn end, and I'm gonna start with knit, and now I'm gonna go knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl to get this sort of ribbing. So I started with knit, yeah, and now I'm gonna go knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, and I'm gonna do it until I have 2 stitches on the left needle left. So knit, purl. If you're not sure if you should do now knit or purl, check stitches that you did. If the last stitches with this bump, you can see this bump here, 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 those are purls, while these are knits. They don't have this bump, see? This small ball. So that was purl, knit, purl, knit. Okay, purl, and now I have 2 stitches left, and I'm gonna knit them both. All right, so now I have first row done. So from now on, we're gonna do edges a little bit differently, because we really want to have a nice neat edges, because it's really important that it looks nice when we want to sew both of the sides. So first row, you just knit and purl, and now I'm gonna start and end a little bit differently. So now it might feel familiar because we're gonna purl those 2, right? Because now we're on the left side. We have this thing here on the left, so we're on the left side. So we're gonna purl. We're gonna start with purling 2, because on the right side we knitted them. So now we're on the purl side. So we're gonna start with purling both of these stitches. A little bit. So purl, purl. Now I'm gonna continue ribbing. So knit, purl, knit, purl, and so on, and continue until you have 2 last stitches. And I'm gonna show you how we're gonna always end and start the rows. Okay, last knit, and now you can see that I have 2 left. Purl this, and then slip this one purlwise with the yarn in the front. So I'm not gonna knit or purl this one, I'm just gonna slip it just like if I would want to purl with the yarn behind, right? So now we're on the right side, and now we're gonna knit 2 first. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna knit, see, like the working yarn is attached on the second one. So I'm gonna knit this one, and then I'm gonna do the ribbing. Knit, purl, and now at the end of the row I'm gonna show you how I end the row on the right side. So now I have 2 left, so I'm gonna knit this one, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna slip this one knitwise. So on the right side where we start and end with knit, we're gonna always slip the last one knitwise with the yarn behind the work. But when we're on the right side, we're gonna always slip the last stitch purlwise with the working yarn in front of us. So now I'm on the left side, right? Because this is on the left, and I'm gonna purl the first one, yeah. And then remember to not make it too loose. It's important that you make it short, because otherwise you're gonna have really loose yarn here, right? So you don't go like this. Remember to have it short, and then you purl, knit, and the purl just like we did before. And as I said, the last stitch you're gonna have, you're gonna slip it purlwise with the yarn in front of you. So continue like that and make 30 rows. And after we're done with 30 rows, I'm gonna show you how to work rest of the yarn, rest of the mitten. So we're gonna meet when you're gonna be here. 30 rows. Alright, so now we made the 30 rows. So exactly what we want for the cuff. And now we're gonna start row 31. And on row 31, we're just gonna knit everything. Maybe not everything, because we're gonna slip the last one knitwise. So we knit everything until we have the last stitch left on the left needle. So now we just knit everything. Okay, and then slip the knit in direction of knitting. So we're on the right side, and on the right side we're always gonna knit, and we're always gonna slip the last stitch knitwise. On the left side, we're gonna purl everything, and then the last stitch we're gonna slip purlwise. So what we want 4 rows. So now we did one. Now we're gonna do second one, purlwise, and then we're gonna repeat another one of knitting, another one of purling. So let me just start purling. And now let's meet just before starting the 4th row. Okay, so I made 4 rows of stockinette stitch. So 2 knits on the right side and 2 purls on the left side. So I have 34 rows. So from now on, we're gonna be adding stitches on both sides. And we're gonna be only adding them while working on the right side. So every time we're gonna be purling, we're not gonna add any stitch, but when we're knitting, we're gonna be adding. So I prepared the 2 markers, and I'm actually gonna have 2 more, but it's of course up to you if you feel like doing it, like if you feel like using it. So how we're gonna be adding the stitch, we first knit 1 as usual, and then we're gonna knit 1 more, and now we're gonna add a new stitch. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take this yarn that is in between, yeah, and I'm gonna put it up on the left stitch. So the left leg of it is behind and the right is in the front. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna grab the back of the string, yeah, and I'm gonna knit it. Oops. Again, grab the back and knit. So this is how I'm going to be adding stitches on the right side. And I'm just going to slip it for a moment on the right, and I'm going to add marker here. So I always remember to add stitch after these 2. So now I'm just gonna knit everything as usual until I have 2 stitches left on the left needle. So I'm gonna knit now. So now I have 2 left. What I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna lift again this yarn, but this time I'm gonna make sure that the left leg is in the front and the right leg is behind. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna knit through the front leg knit 1 and then slip over, knit twice the last stitch with the working yarn behind. So now we added 2 stitches on the sides. What we're gonna do in this row, we're gonna purl everything, and then of course as usual we're gonna slip purlwise the last stitch. Okay, so now I purled everything and I'm back on the right side, and I'm gonna add again 2 stitches on both sides. So I'm knitting little marker. I'm gonna slip the marker, and again find this string here and put it so the left leg is behind, and then knit through the back leg. Okay, and again I knit everything as usual. And then I knit all the way to the marker. And then I take this string between and I put it so the left leg is in the front. And then I knit through the front, slip the marker, oops, slip the marker, and then knit one, and then slip, knit twice. Right, so now we added 2 stitches on both sides, so then it's 4 stitches overall. Okay, so we had our 2 rows of increase and 2 rows of purl, and now we're gonna have a 3rd row of increase, and this is where I'm gonna use these stitch markers. Overall, we want to have 8 rows of increase, because at the end we want to have 8 stitches on both sides, so 16 stitches that will create this space for a thumb. So why I'm gonna use these markers is to control how many extra stitches for the thumbs I have. But of course you can just count the rows. It needs to be 59 rows, or as I said, 8 rows of increase and purl. So let's see. Time for a 3rd row of increase, where I'm gonna also add the stitch markers. So knit, tail marker, slip the marker, add the stitch, yes, and now I add this marker. So now I know that I added 3 stitches, and now I just knit as usual. And as I said, you don't need to use the stitch marker. If you're fine with counting, you're good with keeping an eye on which row you are, then of course it's not mandatory. I tend to knit a little bit too long without checking, so I prefer keeping an eye on how many stitches I added. So the pink marker is for me to show where's the increase for the thumb and how many stitches I added, while the green markers just show where should I add the next stitch. And of course it's easy to remember where, but easy to see where, but I like to have a marker because it just makes me remember that I had to do something here. All right, so now I'm gonna knit till marker. I'm gonna add the marker, and now I'm gonna add, oops, okay, I'm gonna add the stitch. So I'm gonna knit through the front leg. Oh, it's a little bit tight. It's okay. Now that everyone has their own method, I'm just gonna put back the marker that jumped, and I'm gonna knit and slip. Cool. So now I can continue, and I will meet you when you have 8 extra stitches on this side and 8 extra stitches on that side. Okay, so now we did 8 rows of increase, and those increases were always on a right side, on a knitting side, and 8 rows of purl, so 16 rows besides those small rows here where we didn't increase. So what we're gonna do, I already took off the marker that was showing me where to add stitch, and then we can see that on both sides I have 8 extra stitches, 8 here and 8 here, and in between I have 43. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna bind off those 8 stitches in the beginning. So let me just push everything here. And now I'm gonna bind off with a stretch. So I knit first one as usual, then I knit second one as usual, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna knit them both again. And this way we're gonna bind off while still keeping it stretchy. So I have one stitch here, and then I knit again, and then I put the left needle, and then I knit everything together. So again, I knit one more, and then I put left needle under here, and with the right needle I knit them both together. And again, and again, 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 and now I'm gonna take off this one and bind off one more. All right, so this is how it looks. Very nice, still stretchy. So what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna knit everything. I'm gonna knit all the way here. So let me knit. Okay, so now I slip the I slip the stitch marker, and then I can see I still have 8 here, but I'm still gonna knit all of them besides the last one, right? Because the last one we're always slipping knitwise. Yes. And now on the purl side, now I'm gonna be binding off everything. So I'm gonna purl the first one, and then purl second. And what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna knit them together, and then I purl again, of marker and purl one, and then the last time bind off everything. Great. And now I'm just gonna purl everything, and then while working on this part of the mitten, we're gonna still do the same thing as we did earlier, which is slipping when we're on the right side, we slip the last stitch knitwise, and then when we're on the purl side, we slip the last stitch purlwise. And because of that, we're gonna have a really nice edge, and we want to have a nice edge because we're gonna be sewing everything together at the end. So now I slip the last one, and now as you can see, what we have here is that we pinned it off those two sides. So once we're gonna sew everything together, this is gonna be our thumb. So what we're gonna do now, we're gonna knit more. We're gonna knit 8 rows more. So 4 knitwise and 4 purlwise. So I will see you after you're done with your 8th row. Okay, so now I'm done with those 8 rows that are above our increase and bind off, which is basically this space here. And now what I'm gonna do the last part of the mitten, which is like this ribbing, and everything is done with the same size of a needle, which in my case is 4 millimeters. However, if you want to have this part a little bit more tighter and closer to your hand, I recommend going with half the size below. So if I was using 4, I think it's good that should be fine if you go with 3.5 here. I'm gonna do it with 4 because I like it like this. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna only show you 1 row because otherwise it's just back and forth the same stuff. So I'm gonna knit first 2 stitches, and now I'm gonna do the ribbing, which is purl, knit, purl, knit, purl, knit, and I'm gonna continue, and I will see you 3 stitches before the end. So, okay, so now I have 3 last stitches, and I just wanted to show you that there's gonna be a purl, knit, and then we slip knitwise the last one. And then when we start on the wrong side, we always start with 2 purls and we end with purl and slip purlwise. And we want to make 8 rows, and the 9th row is gonna be a row where we bind off. And of course, like if you want to have this longer, you're fine with doing more stitches, more rows, but here I'm gonna show you with 8. So make 8 rows, and then I'm gonna show you how to bind off the 9th row. Okay, so now I made 8 rows, and then I'm gonna bind off the whole row, and I'm gonna do it the same way I did bind off those thumbs. So I'm gonna knit first, and then from now on I'm just gonna knit every next stitch and then knit we're gonna do is we're gonna sew it together, and this is how we're gonna get a mitten, right? And because we worked to have a really nice edge, it's gonna be really easy to sew the edges together to create this nice seam. Okay, so now when we have ready the other glove, what we need to do is we're gonna sew them together, and we're gonna sew here and here. So if you feel confident about like how you want to sew it, you can go for it. I'm gonna show how I sew it myself. So it looks like this, and I use the mattress stitch. So as you remembered, I left a lot of string in the beginning, so now I'm just gonna use it for sewing the bottom of our mitten. I'm just gonna untie this. Probably left way more than I actually need. Anyways, so yeah, I'm taking my darning needle and I'm gonna go like this. Yeah, and as I said, like I 100% used way, yeah, I left way too much yarn, but yeah, it's okay. Okay, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna look at our glove and be sure that it's really evenly put together. And as you can see, here are the stitches of the knit stitch, and here those loops are the loops that we created by basically when we were knitting every other row. So that's how we got those loops. So the loop is here and the loop is here. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna use the mattress stitch, and it means that we're gonna go like this. So I'm gonna start. So it's very important in the beginning that you're really good with grabbing both corners, because we don't want here to have this like two bumps, right? So it's really important that you're sure that you go from this corner and find your corner here. So I'm just gonna go in this small loop here just to be sure that I grab the corner. And yeah, I'm gonna struggle a little bit with my super long tail. I should probably do it way shorter, but it is what it is. All right, and what we're gonna do is that we're gonna go find those loops. So for here, like for example, here's the loop, and we're gonna find these loops here. So here I have the side loops, right? You can see them, right? Great. So I'm gonna go like this. I'm gonna go here through one, and like that. And I'm gonna show a little bit, and I think after a moment you're gonna get how it works. So I'm not gonna pull it all because I really won't need to see the stitches, and at the end we can just drag the yarn and it should close up. So we're gonna do it like a little bit loose. Okay, so here I'm gonna go right, left, right, left. So I did right, and then I'm gonna go left, and I'm gonna find this loop and go inside this loop, yeah, and then up through the next loop. And I'm gonna find the loop where I've been, and then I'm gonna go up the next loop. And then again the loop that we already have our yarn in, but this time this way, and then the next one. Here, go through it, and then from the bottom, oops, again, what's that here, and then here. And then left. So if it's not very clear what I'm doing, you can easily write on YouTube mattress stitch. There's a lot of videos showing you how to sew it with the mattress stitch. That is probably more in a little bit more cleared example, in case this is not very obvious. But I'm gonna show you how I do it, and as I said, like, if you feel like you want to use a different stitch, feel free. And now I'm gonna pull a little bit, and you're gonna see how it closes. Pull it a little bit, so we're sure that it's not too tight. But as you can see, the seam is basically seamless. It's really not that visible, and I think it looks really nice. As you can see, it's like here, and this is why I pulled it late, not from the beginning, because as you can see, it's like you lose a little bit the visibility of which stitch you've been through. So like, remember to not pull it too tight. So we were on the left, and now again right. Okay. Great. So as you remember, one of the sides have one row more than the other side, but it's fine. We're just gonna kind of like just stretch it a little bit, and it's fine. I mean, one row is not that much, so I think we can easily pull it off. So this side, and then here, So now I'm gonna pull everything again, check if it's stretchy, and then you can see that there's this it's a little bit off here. So what we're gonna do, we're just gonna grab this side, so we know that both corners are well connected, and then I'm gonna go under this stitch here, and we're kind of creating a fake stitch, as you can see. So then I'm gonna go through this here, and that way we connected, yeah, on this side, and we have a really nice stuff happening here. So all right, so we have almost the whole glove done. We're gonna cut this fast enough. All right, so this is hidden, yeah, and now I'm gonna take the piece of yarn that I cut off from the tail, put in the middle, and now we need to connect that. So I'm gonna find the corner, and the corner I would say is here, yeah. So we're gonna find the last and exactly stitch here, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna first connect the end of the yarn so we have it attached. So I'm just gonna simply just a little knot, really. You don't need much more than that. That's not complicated stuff. Connected, great. And yes, and then we're going back here, and then we're looking, okay, where's that part, and then here there's this hole, so we don't want to pull it too tight because then we would have a hole here. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start from the last stitch here and then go through here. So I'm gonna go like that. And now I'm gonna find this part here. Great. So that's gonna anchor a little bit more our glove, and we're not gonna get this ugly hole because of the looser stitch here, yeah. So we have it here, and then we go up, we work our way up. Start pulling this. Yeah, not too tight because we want to have this elastic here. And then we have a really nice thumb with no holes. So I'm just gonna double check. Superb. Really nice. And I'm just gonna go through these two last stitches here. here. Okay, and now I'm gonna connect both corners. So I'm gonna go through this top stitch, the bind off stitch. I'm gonna go through it, and then I'm gonna go through the stitch over here. Time, and now we created this fake stitch here. So this is how it looks. Now I'm just gonna cut the yarn. Like, no judgment on my cat claw scissors, because I couldn't find my own. And this is how I usually get rid of the long tail. So we're just gonna find the seam, and then I'm just kind of gonna wiggle around the stitches, like here. Hop. Yep, that's good. And then the same with this one. Great. All right. Congratulations, because we're done. We're officially done. Both of our flat worked gloves are done, and they are so comfortable. Oh, this is really nice. Okay, I love it. Okay, I'm super happy, and I'm really curious how it went for you. So if you did them, please tag me, and I would love to see them and share them with everyone. So yeah,